on report on the inspection visit to semi-autonomous institution of the East African Community in Arusha, Tanzania, from 2nd to 8th April 2023, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023. Honorable Speaker, Regional Integration Committee is a select committee established under Standing Order 212, and its main mandate, in summary, is to examine the record of all the relevant debates and resolution of the meeting of the East African Legislative Assembly. It also examined the bills introduced in the East African Legislative Assembly and the acts of East African Community. Honorable Speaker, the Committee of Regional Integration also examined the records of all relevant debates, resolution, and the meeting of the Pan-African Parliament, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly, and other regional integration bodies, hand in hand with inquiring into the examining any other matter relating to regional integration, generally requiring action by the House. Honorable Speaker, I didn't need to read the mandate of this committee, but I feel as one of our key jobs now on the table is to make sensitization to the citizens of East Africa, citizens of Kenya, and the citizens of Kenya are represented by the members of this House and the Senate. I feel the need to keep on informing the members. Time and again, recently we had an issue with the members who sit in Pan-Africa when they wanted to present their report, and we read to them that we are supposed to examine those records so that we inform the House well informed. That being said, Honorable Speaker, the purpose of this inspection was first to equip my members of my committee in familiarizing them with the institution within East Africa, so that as we continue with the journey in the next 5 years, now 4 years, they get to understand which institutions are established in East Africa. Honorable Speaker, we also meant to make members appreciate the operations of East Africa institutions, organs that provide services in the facilitation of EAC integration. Also, to establish a basis for awareness creation in East African region and the role of the Parliament in the regional integration process. Honorable Speaker, we were also intending to get feedback and recommendation from EAC institution, organs, on areas of policy support and any advocacy. Honorable Speaker, this issue of awareness, we will continue creating awareness because sensitization is everything, because people cannot deal with matters which they do not understand. Why do I say that, Honorable Speaker? It was important for our members to be aware. I want to relate with today's event in State House. Honorable Speaker, I broke protocol this morning, and I'm sure Honorable Felix Koske wondered, and I denied him eye contact so that he couldn't rule me out of order in the presence of the President. And I carried this with me. I would give it to the majority leader because he was missing in the event. Honorable Speaker, our own government, my own government of Kenya Kwanza, is not aware of East Africa region. It is not even aware what is the mandate of East Africa as a ministry. And today, the Minister of East Africa did sign the contract of ourselves, leaving the contract, signing the contract of regional integration. Why do I say this? The East African Ministry was established time back when the summit sat down and found that matters of regional integration are getting lost in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so they did sit as the highest organ in East Africa, and they concluded and resolved that each country shall have a ministry of EAC. And this ministry of EAC core mandate is regional integration matters. Recently in Kenya Kwanza government, our president did add this ministry the mandate of ourselves. This is an additional mandate. It is not the mandate which the East African Ministry was established upon. So it is very, very unfortunate that people making this program can forget that East African region do exist, and they think that East Africa Ministry do exist to deal with ourselves. The original mandate, as foreign affairs is written down here on this program, it deals with the diaspora. The original mandate of foreign affairs is foreign relation, then diaspora and any other agenda can come. Back to my presentation on this report, but I needed to put out that, Honorable Speaker, is that the committee visited the semi-autonomous institution like the Secretariat itself. The Secretariat is fully autonomous, but it is the mother of the semi-autonomous. They did visit the EACJ, that is East African Court of Justice. They didn't have the privilege of visiting IALA, because IALA by then was having a sitting in Bujumbura, but they did visit the competition authority, and they also visited the SAMIs. Honorable Speaker, they found a number of issues. They observed a number of issues. For interest of time, I may not go through them because they'll be captured in the recommendation. But in this visit, Honorable Speaker, they first found that the community is constrained of financial stability. One, the community is facilitated by partner states. Each partner state contributes approximately $8 million per year through the Ministry of EAC, through Treasury, and this money, time and again, does not reach Arusha as expected. So you will find the country is supposed to remit, for instance, in the month of July. That is why the budget again was meant to be read on 30th of June in all countries within our region, so that no countries say, I have not read my budget, that's why I cannot remit. But time and again, you'll find a country like South Sudan, a country that we love, we respect, it is in the bloc, it's our brother. It doesn't remit year in, year out to a tune of $30 million. So this late submission of remittance bring delays in implementation of policies or other matters in EAC. The committee also did find the challenge of staffing in all these organizations, which has been there ever time immemorial, even when I was in Yala. There is always wrangles, and so the institutions do not have enough staffs. The committee also did find that lack of awareness. For instance, East African Court of Justice offers so good services to the citizens. The citizens do not use the court fully because they are not aware. The committee also found that the NTB, non-tariff barrier, is the greatest challenge to the growth of this community. Honorable Speaker, we will refresh our memory that our East Africa is established on the 4 pillars, mainly the custom union, the common market, and in the common market we speak of free movement of goods, people and services. But the NTBs in this region, Honorable Speaker, have limited this protocol to be implemented in full. There is always NTBs, name them, the roadblocks. This weekend we had a privilege to have a one-on-one with the Ministry of Road and Transport, and we intend to have a sitting with the Ministry of Interior, because these roadblocks do bar trade to happen. You go at after implementing the custom union, you go at the border, one-stop border post, you find the mindset of the officers. They do not know that you don't need a visa to cross to our neighbor. The boundaries are currently there, but in essence, in the spirit of EAC, it's like those boundaries do not exist. That's why we have one-stop border post. So this mindset need to change, and all these are issues to do with the non-tariff barriers. Honorable Speaker, the recommendation of this committee, especially through the subcommittee that went to Arusha, is that East Africa, through the Ministry of EAC, to explore an alternative financial mechanism for the community. It is not any longer tenable to ask countries to remit, and we are not able even to sanction, those sanctions in the treaty, those who delay. The other recommendation from the committee is that there be fast tracking of amendment of the treaty. There have been a lot of work in amendment of the treaty. We have issues that delay the community, like the issue of consensus, that you have to sit 7 of us because now we are 7, and 7 of you have to be in consensus with an issue on the table. Honorable Speaker, today, 21st century, is just not possible. That's why the community is not able to move. How can 7 people think the same? How can 7 people agree? There will always be dissenting voices. So it has been the push that this treaty need to be amended and this need to be fast-tracked, hand in hand with other regulation, like the Act of 2017 of NTBs. The non-tariff barriers framework is not in place. So as much as we say the roadblocks shouldn't be there, but how many should be there? For instance, from Nairobi to Namanga, from Dodoma maybe to Kobero or such. Finally, there is need to create awareness. Me, as the chair of this committee, I have continued to create awareness. I have continued. That's why I broke the protocol at State House and moved when my minister was called to create awareness to the country that East Africa exists. So there is need to create awareness, and with this, we shall be able to handle matters of East Africa well, because we shall be able to discuss what we understand. Those are just some of the recommendations, but we have quite a number. The key, which I would like the members who will debate to discuss, is the East African Court of Justice. Honorable Speaker, we are contributing money. Remember, the East African Court of Justice was established almost 2 decades. To date, it's still an ad hoc court. It doesn't work full-time. What justice do we give East African citizens if a judge will go and work for 3 weeks, come back? To date, the court is still temporary because it is hosted in Arusha, Tanzania on temporary basis. So it is up to the East African team through the ministries to agree that this court will now be permanently in Arusha. Then that chapter is closed, but most importantly, each partner state through the ministers of East Africa must agree that the East African Court of Justice have to be full-time. Maybe Mtata by now could be going to EACJ. He is bothering us here in Nairobi, but he's aware that maybe when he wants to go to EACJ, the EACJ is not sitting. And so are the many citizens of East Africa who have matters, but they are not aware when the court is sitting, when the court will sit, and that is justice being delayed. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg that members deliberate matters of East Africa passionately, because this is the way to go. For the information of this House, we just gave views of the political confederation a month ago to Arusha. This means we are already fast-tracking the final pillar of East Africa, which is political federation, but because we are not yet there to have one president in East Africa, the transition is the confederation. This is already almost realized. So members, we need to realize and understand and embrace matters of East Africa, so that tomorrow we don't have a confederation, then we start asking, how did it come about? Where did it came from? We are the one who should guide our citizens by telling them on East Africa opportunities that are there, how they can trade. Because I'll tell you, the country called Uganda, the country called Tanzania, they do a lot of trade today, mostly on small-scale businesses than us, because they are aware. Their citizens have continued to inform them through their parliaments. Let's embrace matters of East Africa. Let's speak this to the citizen, so that the mama boga here may be aware that in Tanzania we don't have boga, though we have the onion and carrot, and they can also trade. There is free trade of close to 300 million people. The DRC Congo is already on board. Our citizens are not aware. Plenty of opportunities are there. So let us speak and embrace matters of East Africa. With that, I beg to move, and I request through your approval, Honorable Beatrice, who was one of the delegation, to second this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Kemei.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to second this motion on the report on a visit to semi-autonomous institutions of the East African